Hi everybody, welcome to Increstless. I am Becky, and today I have a special guest. This is my friend Jenna, who I work with, so we've been colleagues and friends for several years now. And so she has also a long history in dealing with weight and everything, and she has used intermittent fasting for the last several years. And so I thought this would be a really important piece of this ongoing discussion about weight and glucose and metabolic syndrome and all the things. So Jenna, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your history with weight?
Becky and I work together. I actually teach anatomy and physiology, and so I know a lot about the physical processes that are involved in metabolic disorders. And so you would think that since I know about them and how they work, that I would not fall prey to some of these issues. But
only it worked that way.
I was never overweight. I was actually a very picky eater when I was a kid. And as a matter of fact, one of my earliest memories was we had gone out to our friend's house for Thanksgiving, and I didn't eat anything there because I didn't like getting in the food. And I remember being in the car, and I was the youngest, and I was in the back seat in the middle between my brother and sister, and I remember saying, I'm really hungry. And my parents both turned around and were like, how could you be hungry? And, but the fact that I said I was hungry was like a thing for them. And we went to McDonald's. My brother and sister were like, what is this? But I was so picky and I was so skinny that me saying hungry constituted an emergency for the family.
Oh my, wow,
right?
okay,
and so I was like that up until my mid-20s. And when I was in my mid-20s, along the way, I had started smoking.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes,
okay.
So I was a smoker from when I was in high school until I was about 24, 25, and I quit smoking. And then I met my husband, my person that I ended up being my husband, right after that. And so the combination of not smoking anymore and being in love and laying around and eating food and having cheese and crackers and everything. And he's a big guy, he's 6'3".
Yep.
And so he can eat a lot more than I should have been eating. And so I started to gain weight at that point.
Okay.
But it was never, I was always a little overweight, but not bad.
Right.
But it was really once I had the kids. I think it completely wrecked
that
my
happens
metabolism.
to so many women. Those pregnancies, and then there's just
and
no
then
recovering.
So there's the physical part, but there's also the sort of what you're doing during the day. I mean, the kids are eating. I didn't have time for lunch. They left half a peanut butter sandwich, so I ate it. And then, there was a bunch of crackers, and I just ate those too because I didn't have time. I wasn't making time for healthy habits at that time. And, I was always very careful about what they ate.
Oh, sure.
But not what I ate.
Oh, I hear this all the time from so many women. It's like, I'm so conscientious about what I fix for my family, but we don't think about what we need for ourselves.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think the other thing that started happening is, I would make dinner, everybody would have their dinner, I would be cleaning up, I would be feeling somehow unfulfilled.
Sure.
Either emotionally or physically unfulfilled. And it's not like I have a bad life. It's hard being a mom. Yeah. It's hard not having anybody really, you just don't have time for yourself. You don't have time or money to pamper yourself and feel address your needs. And
absolutely.
So I think that is when I started doing more of the binge eating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I never really had done that before. Again, either I was young and picky, youngish and smoking, or then as soon as both of those went away, that's I think when I started trying to find comfort in food. And that's when things really took off. And so I just sort of every year was just worse and worse and worse and worse, and I kept on trying this and trying that. And so there was this one drug, I forget what it was called, but it made it so it was hard to digest fat or something.
Okay.
But it made your stools oily or something.
Oh.
I forget what it was called. It was a terrible drug. I tried that. I remember my doctor being like, if you want to try it, okay. But I tried all kinds of things. We did Atkins. We did, what else did we do? All kinds of crazy things. Atkins worked. Like we lost weight on it, but I hated it because I just don't like eating, meat that much. And I mean, I'm a carb junkie. Like if I'm going for something, I'm going for the crackers.
Yeah.
And so when I stopped going for the crackers, I lost weight, but I also was unhappy.
Well, yeah, and I think, there are different, methods of eating that work for different people at different points in their lives. And like for me, I've never been like hooked on sweet things. It's the salty crunchy.
Yes, absolutely.
That is me. It's always been the salty crunchy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, fast forward many, many years, and my kids, I used to joke that I'm still trying to get the baby weight off. And my baby is, 20 years old now, my youngest. But just before the pandemic, I actually read a book that really affected me. It was actually by somebody called Dr. Jason Fung.
Yes.
And it's called The Obesity Code. I read that one before I read The Diabetes Code, because I think he wrote both of those.
Yes, he did.
And then there was another book that I read based on that. So my husband sort of suggested, intermittent fasting. And I was like, are you kidding me? No way, that's crazy. This is just another, he has all these crazy ideas. Now his big thing is thermokines, and how if we go throw ourselves into the cold frozen river every day, like the ice bath thing, that's what he wants to do now. And I'm like,
I know.
But when he brought up the fasting, I was like, no way. And so I kind of looked into it, and then I read The Obesity Code, and then I read The Diabetes Code, and then I read this other book by somebody called Jen Stevens called Delay, Don't Deny. And those and that was in 2018 maybe. And those, I was like blown away by the research behind fasting and the reasons for fasting. And it went really well hand in hand with what I already know about how diabetes works and how metabolic and the endocrine system works. And I think Chris was really surprised, because I was like, okay, let's do the fasting. And we did, and we lost. I mean, I lost 90 pounds. Doing the fasting. The problem I had was COVID hit, and I was great during COVID, but was coming out of COVID when I had to go back to work, when I had to go back out into society.
Right.
I also went through menopause right then. And I just couldn't stick with it, and so I gained all that weight back, plus another probably 40 pounds. And I was just really, I was like whatever, type 3 obesity or whatever, dangerous obesity. And then, as I said earlier when we were talking, we went on vacation. I felt horrible. My knees hurt. I just was uncomfortable. We were on a sailboat. We were vacationing on a sailboat with my family, and the kids wanted to go climb up to the top of the island to see the sunrise, and I didn't think I could make it because my knees hurt too much. And I sat there and I was like, something has to change. Like, I don't want to live my life like this. I don't want to feel like I'm 80 when I'm 50 years old.
Right.
So that's when I was like, all right, the fasting worked. I just have to make sure I can stick with it. And so I started it again. Yeah,
absolutely. And I remember, seeing that change in you too, because, I would see you around campus and everything. And I think one of the things about intermittent fasting is that it's been around for forever. I mean, truly, it has in various forms. People fasted for like religious reasons as well as other health reasons and things like that. And I know, for me, living in very much in the bariatric world, and then also now taking a GLP-1 medication, there are a lot of people who have more like timed eating, I suppose, is another way of thinking about it. Where it's like, okay, I have the hours between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. where I don't eat, and I've got that other 12 hours. And I would say that's probably how I am, because I know I'm an evening grazer. I've never been a binge eater, but I've been a grazer my entire life. And so one of the things that I do for myself is about 6 p.m. That's when I cut off.
Just don't eat anymore.
Just don't eat anymore. And I also find too, for me, I sleep better. When I stop eating around.
Not doing all that digestive process.
Exactly. Yes. So for me, I would say I'm like that 12-hour kind of window person for that. And I know there are a lot of people who, depending on what kinds of nutrition, or whatever the nutrition strategy is, they still will use those blocks of time. So I think that there's a lot to that in terms of like glucose control as well as weight control.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and that's the interesting thing. So this guy that wrote the diabetes code and the obesity code, he came upon this internet.
He's a nephrologist, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of patients that were diabetic, and he was trying to help them with their glucose control.
Yeah.
And so he would put them on these, they were actually quite long fasts. So they would fast for like a day and a half, and they were allowed to have bone broth, which is protein, and salt, and water, but no food. Right? No, no actual solid foods. And what he found was that they lost all this weight. I mean, go figure, you're eating bone broth for 2 days, right?
Right. Yeah.
But when he started looking into it, it's interesting because, like, if you look at evolution, our bodies are meant to hold on to food when there is lots of it, and then to release the stored energy from fat stores when there isn't enough. I mean, because we did not have Myers up the street to go to when we were hungry living as cavemen. And so our bodies are very efficient at storing away unused energy.
Absolutely.
And then releasing it when needed. And so, that is one of the things that my mom always worries about. She's always like, you don't eat anything. I eat plenty, I just eat it in a window.
Yeah.
And so I always say it's like the pantry. When things are on sale, you stock up on whatever you want for the week, and it's sitting in your pantry. And then as the week goes by, you don't have to necessarily run to the store every day. You take it out of the pantry.
Right.
So it's not that you're starving. And in fact, our bodies do a much better job of regulating blood glucose than eating what I'm trying to say. So we do a better job of regulating blood glucose than our bodies do when we're constantly eating. Because when we're constantly eating, every time you eat, your blood glucose goes up, your insulin goes up, and then we have to fight to get it back down again. If you don't eat, it's not that your blood glucose falls dangerously low. You're constantly putting more glucose back into the bloodstream. So most people do a pretty good job of that part. It's the constant eating. Or, some people have issues where if you're under, significant stress, even if you're not eating, you're going to have high blood glucose because of all the cortisol that's being released from stress. So it's not, this country hates overweight people. And so there's a lot of judgment about, well, if you have diabetes, type 2 diabetes, it's because you have poor willpower, or just have, you've got these sort of deficient character traits, right?
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, I don't even think it's that way. I think that they have other things. People that have PCOS tend to have problems with blood glucose control. And so, that's not because they're overeating, it's because their bodies are sort of betraying them and just aren't functioning properly.
I know, it's one of the things that has always bothered me too, like whenever I hear people talk about, people who are overweight as being lazy, I'm like, you want to call me lazy? Shall we weigh resumes? You want to call me lazy? I mean, I think, there's absolutely that stigma out there.
Yes.
And there are 1,000 reasons as to why people struggle with weight.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
And they're as varied as our bodies are varied.
For sure.
And so I think it's really hard, it's not fair to put that stigma on people, but that's what happens. And I think it is sort of the last acceptable shame that people feel comfortable putting on other people.
The last acceptable prejudice.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Really is. Yeah.
So I want to move on to this next point here, and I know this is something you briefly addressed already. So do you have like a nutrition strategy other than the fasting window? So like I know some people, they'll still eat like a very controlled carbohydrate diet in addition to working within the timed window, but do you personally have one?
So when I first started with the fasting, it was just don't eat outside of the window. It was like I can have whatever I want. If I want those Fritos, I can have them. It's the whole delay, don't deny mentality. And so for me, the time was what I was concentrating on. However, as time has gone on, it's gotten easier and easier to do the timed eating. And now that I'm a little bit older and sort of looking more at, okay, what are my 60s and 70s going to look like, as opposed to like what are my 40s going to look like. I find that I am much more concerned with making sure I get proper nutrition.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not just about the weight, it's about what am I eating. And so I tend to try to limit the carbs or the empty carbs. You know what I mean? Like, I will eat things like sweet potato or potato because I think that they're good for you. Maybe not French fries, but a baked potato. Right? And I eat the skin and all that stuff. I eat a lot of vegetables, which actually are our main source of carbohydrates. So I absolutely go for the vegetables. And you know, I mean, it's all the stuff we've all heard about what's healthy, what's not healthy. I try to prioritize protein. So usually when I eat nowadays, I have a special salad that I make, which is basically, I don't like lettuce, so I don't have any lettuce in my salad. It's all like red peppers, yellow peppers, tomatoes, avocados, cucumbers. I try to put some kind of protein in there, so like, what are those little green beans called? I forget what they're called. Not green beans, but like the little soybeans. Edamame.
Thank you. I know, it's like I can see them. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I'll put them in there, or sometimes I'll like roast some chickpeas and put them in there. And so like we call it Jenny's salad because like I made this up, and now everybody in my family eats it. But I will eat that, and I love it. And like as I've been doing more and more fasting, and it's been going on longer and longer, my tastes have changed. So I like to have that salad. It's the part I actually look forward to in the meal. And I'll throw in, you know, if I have green beans or broccoli, or, you know, I'm not a huge fan of uncooked carrots. I don't know why. But I sometimes will put them in there.
So that's one thing too for me since my surgery, and that was in 2009. I cannot handle raw vegetables. And so, I you know, they have to be cooked. If they're cooked, I can handle it. Cruciferous vegetables are really hard for me, so I avoid them. But I mean, I love, you know, my green beans and, you know, peas, carrots,
roasted,
you
know. Do like an oven roasted?
I oven roast a lot of things. Peppers I really like,
So I do like the raw, and I seem to, you know, one of the things with the fasting that I do have trouble with is sort of regularity, I guess you'd say, like constipation issues.
That's very common for people in my community as well.
And so what I, you know, do for that is I feel like the vegetables help.
Definitely.
The water, constant water.
I
like it warm, especially on a day like today where it's whatever 5 degrees out. So I prioritize, like I eat that first, and then I eat the protein, and then at the end of the meal I eat, if I'm still hungry or if I still feel the need, I will eat, you know, the couscous, or if we have, you know, and I just don't make a lot of that stuff anymore. And so my tastes have definitely changed. Now, you know, when things are not great, and like I was telling you about my boss today, the stress comes back from work. I definitely think about the salty snacks, but you just have to, again, it's that whole, for me, it's the delay, don't deny. I can have salty snacks. I know I can. And so usually what happens is, if I delay, by the time I get to my open eating window, which will be around, well, I just had lunch, but you know, usually at 4 o'clock is when things sort of open up. I don't want it anymore. So it's almost a game that I play where I don't say you can't have it, because that just makes me want it more.
Right.
I say you can have it later if you really still need it.
One of the things for me that, you know, since I wear my CGM, my little continuous glucose monitor, okay, I am such a nerd that, and I'm so obsessed with my stats. I want 100% in the green every single week. And so whenever I have like that urge to, you know, maybe have something that's, you know, higher,
it's going to show
something
up.
that's going to show. There's a reason why I call that thing my little parole officer. I mean, I am not kidding you.
That's
I do not want to mess up my stats. And I know we all have our things, right? That's one of mine, admittedly. So, what kind of?
I have my weight thing when I track my weight. I told you, so I try to keep. I'm at goal weight now. And I try to keep within a 5-pound range.
I think that 5-pound window.
And so sometimes when I'm thinking about, well, I'll just have whatever, I'm like, oh no, I gotta wait in a couple days. I don't wanna be outside in a 5-pound range.
Yes.
Because then I have to change like my whole week next week.
I understand. So yeah. Now, we were talking about this actually over lunch today, but what kind of exercise do you do? So now it's Michigan, we're in a cold snap, it's like 5 degrees outside, 20 below with the wind chill, so nobody's going outside to do anything except run from their car into the building.
Yeah,
but
that's been actually hard. So normally,
me too, it's been really hard the last couple of weeks when it's been so cold.
Yeah, so normally every week I go to the gym 3 times a week for strength training. So I lift weights, like literally barbells, dumbbells, all that stuff.
Awesome.
And as a 50-something-year-old woman, it is so important for us, for our bone strength, for our muscle strength, for our longevity, for flexibility, all those things. When I grew up, it was all cardio. You were supposed to be running, you were supposed to be doing aerobics, you were doing step aerobics. That was all the emphasis was on cardiovascular health, which is important.
Sure.
But the new research that's come out, and I can tell you this because we teach it in my class, the new research that's come out is that if you can do even 30 minutes of walking, like not strolling, but like, moderate level
get the heart rate
exercise,
up a
30 minutes, and you don't even have to do 30 minutes all at once. If you do 10, 10, and 10, that's good enough. But the rest of the time you should be doing strength training because it's so important. So I have absolutely stuck to that, and even when I go away, if I don't have a gym available, I will still do my squats, I will still do my push-ups, I will still do body weight exercises. I have a little program that I do when I'm not able to get to the gym, and so I have been very serious about that. Because it's Michigan and because we can't get outside. Normally I would walk on the days that I don't go to the gym. I would walk about an hour. I have a friend that we walk together. And we haven't really been able to do that. And I do try to do the treadmill at the gym, but a lot of times, I've already been there an hour. To put another half hour in is just sometimes difficult. Or I have a treadmill at home and it's in the basement and it's cold down there and I don't like it. So that's been hard in the last couple of weeks because I like to do both.
I know, I love to lift. I love the feeling of resistance, and I do reformer Pilates twice a week because it's got that built-in resistance, and you can adjust the tension on the bands and everything. So I go twice a week. I go 6 times a week if I could. I would love that's my thing. I absolutely love it. And this time of year when I can't get out and ride my bike around the neighborhood or just going for a walk around the block when it's 20 below, it's just not happening. So we have to find alternatives. That's for sure. So. I know both of us, and we've talked about this, we've kind of got this newfound sense of confidence. It's like tapping into who we really are, since going through this process and both of us having this, significant weight loss. So in what ways has you losing this weight, impacted your life in non-scale ways?
So many ways. I mean, just how I feel. First of all, I think that's the biggest one. I used to feel like you would wake up in the morning, you'd roll over and you'd try to get up and you'd go, oh, and you'd have to do this, right? You'd have to push yourself up. So the weight loss combined with the increased strength, I just feel better. I don't worry, I don't stress about airplanes anymore. Right? So anybody that's been significantly overweight understands the fear of not fitting. This world is not built for overweight people, by and large, and I feel like that impacts you in so many small. It's like 1,000
the things
tiny
that
cuts.
We have to think about that most people never ever think about. It never enters their stream of consciousness.
For example, I went to Paris 2 years ago with my daughter, and they lost my luggage. And I'm in Paris, which is a wonderful place to be and go shopping. But in Paris, everybody's skinny. There are no plus size shops.
Pretty much anywhere in Europe, try to find anything above a US 14.
Right.
Good
and
luck.
I'm I'm 5'10".
Yeah,
so
then
it's
you're
already
tall
bad.
too, right?
I can't find anything that's big enough just lengthwise. But widthwise, it was so stressful. To try to find, a pair of underwear that fit me. You know what I mean? Not even anything that looks good, just like that wasn't uncomfortable.
Fits.
So, things like that, being freed from that worry is worth a lot.
Talk about
actually.
mental load.
Yeah.
It's like we talk about the
is.
mental load that women carry,
Yeah.
mental load that overweight people carry.
Yes.
That would, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
The whole thing. I mean, from the beginning to the end, you know, the whole airplane.
Oh, I need to do a video
thing.
on that one.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That would be one.
And just all the things. I mean, people are nicer to me. People are nicer to me now. People are not nice to overweight people. I'm sorry. They're not.
It's different.
And as a person that's overweight, you try to compensate by being super nice to everybody and super polite and super friendly. Yeah. And then, you know, they kind of give you the look.
It's like, I will tolerate you, but I do not wish to engage with you. Yes, there's that. And I think, you know, for me, having been overweight since, you know, very early childhood, I think that's one of the reasons why I learned how to overcompensate in every other area of my life, because I felt like I had this one super glaring flaw that was very visible. Yes. So
it was the first thing somebody would see about
exactly.
you.
So I'm going to be nicer than anybody else. I am going to be a better student. I'm going to overachieve in every other area of my life to compensate for what I perceived was this horrendous flaw within myself.
Yeah. Because again, people see you, they make assumptions about your character and about your ability to stick to things. I mean, you know, all of those things, they make these assumptions, and so you definitely feel like you have to come at them hard with positive things. Yeah. And, you know, even, you know, I think part of what's going on in this country right now with the Karen thing, if you're a middle-aged woman that complains about anything, you get called a Karen. And if you're overweight, you get called a fat Karen. Yeah. And it's a terrible, it makes you feel like you have to make yourself small. And that you can't stand up for yourself.
Definitely.
And that you have to take whatever people are dishing out. At the same time, the rage that comes with menopause, perimenopause, and menopause makes you feel like I deserve better than this. So it's very hard to balance those two. So I think I've found a lot of peace in existing in the world in a different sized body. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I've still got probably about another 20 pounds that I would like to lose before I feel like I'm really at a place where I could, you know, be in a healthy place for the long haul. But I know just now how people interact with me is so different. And I never realized it, you know, previously, but now it's like, oh my goodness, I really see how differently people interact with me now than what they did 50 pounds ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is true.
And also, I mean, the superficial part is like buying clothes, having a cute wardrobe.
Oh yeah, and as a girly girl,
that's
a thing.
You know, and my friends always, you know, we would always go shopping, and I would look at shoes, and they would look at clothes. You know, because I didn't want. First of all, I couldn't fit into the clothes in this particular shop that we were in, and I didn't want to go into a plus size shop with my skinny little friends. And so now, like, being able to participate in that sort of female rite of passage where you go shopping with your girlfriends,
there's something to that for sure.
Now, I will say I reached goal in October, and we're in sort of end of January. The amount of money I have spent on my new wardrobe, because I promised myself when I got to goal I would get a new wardrobe, you know, because you need everything.
You do need everything,
And I was very sort of careful as I was losing weight not to spend too much. I mean, I would get a few things here or there just to get me down the road. But I've gone crazy.
Have you really?
I've gone.
I gotta come check out your closet.
I know, it's bad because, you know, it's just trying on clothes is fun now because I look good.
Yeah, you know, I've had this conversation a couple of my other interview videos where it's like, you know, you don't want to spend a lot of money along the way, but, you know, for those of us who live in the professional world,
you have to wear something.
We have to have the professional look as well as our everyday look, and so, you know, those are all purchases that you need to make. But yeah, it's one of those things. That's the expensive part. It's the fun part, but it's the expensive part.
Well, what I figure is that with what I'm spending on what I'm not eating, I've saved plenty of money over the past 2 years.
That's a really good way to look at. So I want to get to my last question here, and that is, what, if anything, would you do differently if you had to go back a couple of years and is there, and through this whole process, is there anything that you would do differently?
I think I would have started a GLP-1
Okay.
like years ago.
Okay.
I think if they had had them when I was 40, so I'm 55 now, if they had had them 15 years ago, and I think there was one that was out 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
some of the ones.
for diabetes control, I mean, they've been around for about 20 years now in different forms. Yeah.
If I could have figured out how to take care of myself 20 years ago, I would have saved myself from joint damage, my knees, which I know I'm going to have to, at some point, I'm going to have a knee replacement because, you know, I'm old and I had a lot of weight that I was carrying. I would have saved myself saggy skin, you know, because now that I've lost weight, I have excess skin that I'm too old for it to snap back.
Yeah, no, we've talked about that. That's something that we're both dealing with right
now. And I would have saved myself, you know, 15 years of, you know, bad food choices, extra weight that I was carrying around. I would have been able to do more stuff with my kids. You know, I mean, I was always pretty active with them, but I would have been able to do more, I think. And I would have maybe been a better role model in some ways, and that, you know, now the way I eat now is very different than I think the way they saw me just eating from their plates before. Right. So I think I would have probably taken that opportunity had I known about it and had it been available. I would have taken up that opportunity. I still have not gone to it yet because I feel like I've found through trial and error what's kind of working for me.
But you know that it is available to you now should you ever perceive the need to do that.
And honestly, maintenance has been a little difficult for me.
Maintenance is harder than losing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been more stressful because I'm more worried. Before, when I was losing weight, it was very goal-oriented. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. It is hard to keep that up. I mean, it took me 2 years to lose. I lost like over 110 pounds, I think. It took me 2 years to lose it. I lost very slowly, you know, pound, 2 pounds a week. But I was okay with that, and I was very goal-focused, and I knew every week I was going to be down a little bit.
Yeah, progress is progress, even if it's slow. Yeah, definitely.
So now that there's no progress, it's really hard to maintain that level of focus.
It's a shift. You have to shift gears with that, for sure.
And so I'm just trying to keep going with the way I've been eating. You know, I'm looser now, so like I have lunch now.
Yeah.
And usually on the days where I don't have a lunch date, I won't really eat much. I'll have a few pieces of cheese or maybe a little bit of yogurt, and I try to sort of balance things out. And when I do have a lunch, I just eat a little bit. But so my eating window, which used to be a 4-hour window, is now goes usually from noon to like 7. But I try to only eat at noon and at 7. I try not to eat all the way through. Whereas when I had a 4-hour window, it was much more of a eat through the window.
Right.
So I don't know. I wish I had just taken control earlier.
Yeah, I would say for me too, that is the biggest thing is, you know, some of the stuff that I kind of let slide along the way, and I wish I would have addressed my mental health.
Yes.
A lot more effectively than I did. I wish I would have done that, you know, a decade or more before I really started to delve into that, because that's been a huge piece of it for me.
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely one of those things that, you know, for me, I feel like I'm starting to get to the point where I'm starting to think about like aging. Yeah. You know, and I'm starting to think like, oh, look at all the damage that I did to my body. And I don't think enough, I think, about the psychological part of it. Yeah. The damage that I did to myself, the way I beat myself up for trying a diet and failing again, and trying another diet and failing again. Like that hurts your confidence. It hurts your strength, I guess, your inner strength. And I feel like, you know, it's funny because all this snow that we keep having, my husband's tore his hamstrings, and so he hasn't really been able to do a lot to help me with the snow shoveling. and I've been like sitting there like, I can do it because I'm strong and I'm powerful and I go to the gym and I can do this stuff. And I think like that's a good feeling. Like I wish I had that feeling 20 years ago.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. This has been
Anytime.
fun. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know if there's anything that you would like us to talk about, perhaps in future videos. And have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.